Over the years, the video game industry has evolved to become extremely profitable, even more so than the film industry. But how did this happen? To answer, we must go back to the very beginning. Games have seen many changes and improvements as time went by. Better graphics, better frame rates, as well as changes in game mechanics, physics, and design. However, as the scale and scope of games improved, so did the methods used to maximize profits. It all started with the 1997 PC game Redneck Rampage and its paid add-on called the VIKAS pack. This was one of the first times in the Western market where a video game had additional content that you paid for. All it did was add swear words to the otherwise cuss-free game.
You dumb kick your oh sh.
That was purchased as a disc. You couldn't just download it. During the turn of the century, Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer wanted to make their upcoming console, the Xbox, have premium downloadable content and add-ons to revolutionize the console gaming industry. And they were able to do so because of technological advancements. They recognized that online gaming was the future, and so they introduced Xbox Live in 2002, a year after the original Xbox came out, charging players $60 a year to play online with their friends. The rise of online gaming led to DLC, otherwise known as downloadable content. While there were small free DLC packs like the Christmas pack for Creatures, a game that came out in 1996, it wasn't until the 2000s when paid DLC really began to grow. On April 3rd, 2006, Bethesda released their first DLC for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on the Xbox 360. For $2.50, you could put armor on your character's horse. It was heavily mocked by the gaming community for being overpriced and absolutely useless, but by 2009, it was one of Bethesda's top 10 best-selling DLCs. Thus, this DLC model proved profitable, so it has been used since. A good example of this DLC model being used is in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where players can spend extra money to put DLC camos on their weapons. Black Ops 2 also had a new DLC weapon called the Peacekeeper, which was locked behind a paywall like the camos. The difference is the Peacekeeper had an impact on gameplay, because it had different weapon stats than the weapons that came with the game. In 2007, the original Rock Band game released, and from 2007 to 2013, there would be new purchasable songs coming out for the newest Rock Band game on a weekly basis. By July 12, 2012, buying all of the Rock Band DLC songs would cost $9,150.10. That's just ridiculous. But where do pay-to-win microtransaction models fit into all of this? In free-to-play games, especially mobile games, microtransactions have been much more prominent. One game that took the world by storm was Farmville, released in 2009 by Zynga. A free-to-play social game played through Facebook. Farmville gives players the option to pay with real-world money to get ahead, to progress quicker. While not the first to implement a pay-to-win microtransactions model, Zynga was among the first to make lots of money off of them. Zynga was raking in over $600 million in revenue by April of 2010. Other mobile developers saw the potential profit, and they implemented similar microtransaction systems to their games. One such game was Clash of Clans, which dominated the mobile market starting in 2012. In 2013, between the developer, Supercell's two games at the time, Clash of Clans and Heyday, they were making over $2.4 million a day. While horse armor may have caused outrage back in 2006 amongst gamers, nowadays, most gamers would prefer that microtransaction system over what many AAA games now have implemented. In games that have loot box systems, you typically are able to slowly earn them by playing the game. Or you could spend as much real-world money as you want to open as many loot boxes as you want. Every game handles loot boxes differently. Some games, like Overwatch, have loot boxes that only contain cosmetic virtual goods, meaning they might make your character look more stylish, but it won't give you an edge over your opponent. Other games, like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, have loot boxes that can give the player unfair advantages over his opponents. In Advanced Warfare's case, these unfair items are called weapon variants. These weapon variants can change damage per bullet, fire rate, and other statistics. Take this one here for example. This one lets me have 2 extra bullets in the magazine and a faster fire rate. This means that I will be able to kill my enemy more quickly. Remember how you could buy the Peacekeeper weapon for a fixed price in Black Ops 2? 2 years later, this is what is required to unlock new weapons, either pure luck or spending a lot of money. And even with that, there's no way of knowing whether or not you'll get what you want. Then there's CSGO, one of the world's most popular esports games. While all of its loot boxes are cosmetic only, the items within them can be exchanged for real-world money. And not just that, third-party websites like CSGOEmpire.com act as virtual online casinos. These websites have no age restrictions. Sure, you click a box that says you're at least 18, but there's no verification method. To buy a beer, you need an ID to prove you're of age. For these websites, you get by without any sort of proof. In other words, this enables underage gambling. In CSGO, you can either earn loot boxes by playing the game, or you can buy them through the Steam Community Marketplace. But on top of that, you can't open a loot box without paying $2.49 for a key to open the box, or for less money on OP skins or other third-party websites. This is all fine because it's cosmetic only. The problem is, you're able to buy and sell the weapon skins on the Steam Community Market for Steam Wallet funds, or through third-party websites like OP Skins, where you can literally sell your weapon skins for real-world money, which you can put into your PayPal account. Some of the weapon skins in the game are worth hundreds of dollars, and the rarest have been bought for thousands. But CSGO is not the game that got lawmakers' attention.
Look how old you've become.
Something far worse has happened to you.
Yup, Star Wars Battlefront 2. No, not the amazing original from 2005. We're talking about Electronic Arts' 2017 rehash, which was designed from the ground up to revolve around its pay-to-win microtransactions. On the day of Battlefront 2's release, dedicated number cruncher and passionate Star Wars gamer Soren Camper made a formula that estimated that it would take about 4,528 hours of gameplay to unlock all base game content for Battlefront 2. That's 6 months of your life you'd have to spend to unlock everything that the game had to offer at launch. Or, alternatively, you could have bought 21 $100 crystal packs, which would have cost you $2,100. With the system the devs originally had in place, without spending more money, it would take players over 40 hours of playing the game just to unlock Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, even if you bought the $80 deluxe edition. So if you're a casual player who, let's say, only plays 2 hours every weekend, it would take you 10 months to unlock both Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. And that's not even including the time spent in game lobbies, customizing classes, and opening loot crates. At least with the horse armor in Oblivion and even the Rock Band songs, you knew what you were buying, and at least Overwatch's crates are cosmetic only. And while CSGO is also cosmetic only, its relevance is because of how easily that game's virtual items can be turned into real money, and its third-party gambling websites. And at least Advanced Warfare didn't let you buy loot crates with real money until months after the game's release, which is still terrible. But more recent Call of Duty games have been less pay to win. But then there's Electronic Arts, who turned the world's largest IP into a virtual casino.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap.
It's a trap!
And This is something that we need to address to ensure that particularly kids who are underage, who are not psychologically and emotionally mature enough to be able to gamble, which is why gambling is prohibited under 21, are protected from being trapped into these cycles, which have compelled many folks to spend thousands of dollars in gaming fees online.
Lawmakers weren't the only ones to react to Battlefront 2's microtransaction nightmare. Gamers were so outraged that when EA tried to justify it on Reddit, it quickly became the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. It was a PR nightmare not just for EA, but for Disney, the company who licensed EA the rights to make Star Wars games. The PR crisis was so bad that the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, had a talk with the CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson. Iger didn't want negative press surrounding Star Wars since they had a movie coming out in a month's time. Disney forced EA's hand on this one, and the microtransactions were removed. Well, removed for 5 months, and then they were added back in, but this time cosmetic only, like Overwatch. This is how it should have been implemented in the first place. While Battlefront 2 was the game that got lawmakers' attention in the Western audience, China was doing something about it even earlier. A little over a year ago, China passed laws which required games like League of Legends and Dota 2 to reveal the odds of getting good loot. While this is great news for China, for all we know, the developers could be making the odds higher in China than other countries to mislead people from the other countries into thinking that they have the same odds as the Chinese. The transparency in China could lead to more deceptions in other parts of the world.
Ironic.
So now I must beg the question, how, if at all, should the US government regulate these malicious business practices? Where should the lines be drawn? There are so many factors. Is the game free to play? Is it pay to win? Are the loot box items obtainable in ways besides luck? And if so, how time consuming is it? Does the game have an in-game marketplace for selling and buying the items, kind of like CSGO and PUBG? Can the items be bought and sold through third-party websites? And if so, what does that process even look like? How tedious is it? Can you use the items like casino chips in third-party gambling websites, like CSGO Empire? How frequently does the player earn loot boxes by just playing the game? Are the drop rates of rare items mentioned anywhere? And if so, how transparent are the devs about it? How flashy, casino-like, does the game look when opening a crate? Again, there are so many questions here that add extra layers of complexity to addressing this problem. Can it even be solved? There will undoubtedly be lobbyists trying to negate Chris Lee and other legislators' efforts.
For several months, the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association of America, has been flying its lobbyists out to Hawaii. The ESA is the trade organization and lobbying arm of all our favorite companies, EA, Activision, Take-Two, Ubisoft, basically every major player in the gaming industry. As far as I know, this is the first time that their lobbyists have ever had to answer questions on this subject matter in front of a camera.
The ESA testimony reflected was that this is not gambling, or these sorts of mechanisms are not gambling because they, well, for a number of reasons I'll get into in a minute. The UK Gambling Commission, among others, seems to identify this, or portions of this at least, as gambling. Their annual report recently just found that 45% of 11 to 16-year-olds are aware of what's called skins betting, where you have products which you earn out of randomized loot boxes, which you can purchase, which can then be traded for cash. So fundamentally, it seems to be gambling if you can cash out these things for real monetary value. Is it not?
I cannot answer that.
My personal stance is that games like CSGO with cosmetic loot box systems where the virtual items can easily be turned into real-world money should have an entirely separate rating system for the loot crate aspect of the game, where, in order to access the loot crate system at all, one needs to prove that they are at least 18 or 21, depending on the user's location, and it should apply regardless of whether or not a game is free to play. This way, people can still play the game even if they aren't old enough to gamble in it. Similarly, I think that in order for the third-party casino-like websites to stay up and running, Valve must make Steam users prove their ages, and then only the Steam accounts who've been age verified can use the third-party gambling websites. Games like Clash of Clans, where there are only non-loot crate microtransactions that help you get ahead, should remain unchanged with one exception. When the player buys premium currency, the game should send out a confirmation email to the user's email address. So, if it's a kid using his parents' Apple ID, Google Play account, or Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo account, it goes to the parent's email address before it charges their credit card, and the transaction in the game won't go through unless it gets confirmed via email. And if it is in fact an adult, there would be a way to disable needing the confirmation requirement every time. For games like Overwatch that have cosmetic loot box systems that, unlike CSGO, have virtual items that are not exchangeable for money or casino chips, should use this method too. If it's a game where there are loot crates that give the player advantages, even if it's free to play, it should be entirely restricted to 18 or 21 with age verification.